So by trade, I work in therapy. I work in counselling and psychotherapy. And I tend to, as I've got older, I started off being interested in specifically in alcohol use and misuse. As I've gotten older, I'm interested in kind of gendered pathologizing of experience. So how women tend to feel broken, there's something wrong with them. Whereas with men, we tend to look at environment and really how we can find a place to take ourselves through the different stages of our lives. So I run a clinic. I've just gone back to uni because I'm working towards my doctorate at the moment. I don't know if I told you that or not, but might have been a step too far, might not be the right time, but I guess I wanted to make a start on that. I also work with 2 other women, sometimes the doctor, the therapist and the coach, and we've just written a book, just about to launch, and we have a podcast series.
I was going to say, you do a podcast also, do you?
Yeah, we do. So Angela Dr. Wright is a GP, a clinical sexologist and hormone expert, not for polite company, but an absolute laugh. And
well, I would say that this is our audience are very broad-minded and interested, so we can cover all of those.
Okay, and
topics.
then Gemma, who's the coach, Gemma Taylor Magnuson, or Gemma Taylor as she is now. She is a former World's Strongest Woman and UK Strongest Woman, and she's just gone back into competition actually in the summer. And between us, we look at that kind of intersection between your sort of emotions, your body, your medical history. The 3 of us are best friends, and we were just talking one day about how we tend to see people come in with the same question, and then how do we approach that differently? We don't always agree. So Gemma will say, no, you need more exercise, and Angela will say, no, you need hormones. And I'm like, hang on, let's just reassess where we're starting from here. Let's, meet people where they're at. And we just wanted a way to offer what we know as the women we are, rather than the roles, in a way that was accessible, affordable, understandable, relatable. We're still trying to mapping out what that looks like. So we started with the book. We're doing an audience where there's a book launch, people just to come and meet us and talk to us and find out who we are. We're also, all 3 of us are neurodiverse, which is probably why we're close friends. I think we're going to go on to do kind of conversations with, and maybe retreats, maybe an online offering, but it is about it being accessible and being usable. Yeah. Wow. So there's sort of the 3 things I do with therapy. I also work as a mental health first aid trainer. So I kind of train the trainers. And that's actually what I was doing yesterday. And that's one of the things I do that quite scares me. I find it quite difficult. I get in a bit of a flap with the tech and the laptop and the slides and the clicker and the handouts. And I really struggle with that. I can stand and just talk, but I really kind of struggle with the frippery of it, I'm still a bit traumatized from yesterday, actually. So they're probably the things I do across my work environment. And then obviously I have the drinks as well.
Because this is the first time we've actually met face-to-face, isn't it? We've had lots of conversations on Zoom and Teams and things. And whenever we have a meeting or a chat, some of the things you tell me are like, you've done what? You've been where? Really? But you just seem to, oh yeah, I've done this, I've done that. And I come away thinking, crikey, how does she find the time or the energy, or how does she make these things happen? So we're going to explore all of that over the next however long we've got. But first so as with all our guests, you've sent me asked you for a couple of photographs, just so we can get a feel for, who you are and where you come from and what brought you to this place. So there's this is one of you at a young age. What age would you say you were there, do you think?
To be honest, I don't know. So I would guess, looking at it, maybe 2, 3, something like that. I really struggled to find any pictures. I had one of those childhoods that sound very sad when you talk about it, particularly as an adult, when you talk back, and as I am a mother myself, I wouldn't have wanted that for my children. But there aren't very many photos. So there was there's a set of these, and then there was a couple when I was a baby, and a couple that were taken maybe a year or so later, but that's all I could find.
Well, I'm glad you were able to dig that one out for us. So you look extraordinarily happy there.
I think I probably was, looking back at it, yeah.
And so you grew up in the south of England, is that right?
Partly. So I was one of the original kind of tug of love children.
Okay.
I don't know It's interesting. I mean, in psychology, you'd say we have like narrative selves. So we are the accumulation of our stories, our own stories, and what people tell us. And I didn't really have that, and I don't have that. A bit like the photographs, I don't really have things to refer to. And there was this real division between my parents, their families, and in my life geographically and in a familial sense. And there wasn't really anyone to speak to. So what I do know is my mother married my father. My mother was from Barnsley, South Yorkshire. And my father, interestingly, was from up here as well. But I didn't know that because I only knew he was in the south. He was born in the Friarage, which is in Northallerton, which is really close to where I live. But I wasn't aware of that. So at the time he was living near Chelmsford in Essex. And they got married. They had a house there. I don't really know what happened other than both my parents were challenging people. My mother had a drink problem. And my father had a personality problem. And they were just the wrong people to be together. Anyway, so I know that she got pregnant with me and had me. And then I know there ensued these years where she would take me to Barnsley to her family, and my father would come up and get me and take me back down south, and she'd come and get me in the middle of the night. And it was kind of like that. But I genuinely don't know the truth of any of it.
You're almost describing that as though it happened to someone else, or it's a story that you heard as opposed to...
Yeah, it did. I mean, I can remember, her name's Catherine, my mother. My father's name's Will. I can remember Catherine coming once. I was at Danbury Park Primary School, and it's amazing what you remember, in Mr. Backler's class, actually. And I can remember seeing her walk past the window of the classroom and coming in to get me and leaving with her, and knowing I shouldn't, knowing I wasn't allowed to. So what I do know as a fact is my father went to the High Court, and I can remember it when I was very, very young, and got full custody, full care and control of me, which back in those days must have been really unusual. And I think it's indicative of the position my mother's drinking had put her into. Her family are kind of Irish mining family.